Jane, the million, trillion, quadrillion dollar question is whether central banks, including the Fed, will be able to convince the markets that they're looking through inflation expectations.
Well, of course they are, because the inflation that we're going to see is, of course, energy price inflation, food price inflation, not the sort of inflation that makes central banks want to hike interest rates. So it is going to be transitory, but it's really interesting because this is the view that central bankers are generally holding, that economists are generally holding. But there are so many people out in the market thinking, no, hold on a minute. If we get those huge checks landing in the mailboxes of Americans in the next few weeks, surely there's going to be demand side inflation too. So whilst I think the central bank will try and subdue those fears and really promote the message that this is only going to be transitory, I still think that there's going to be optimism in the market really holding on to this idea that the Fed and perhaps others could be hiking interest rates earlier than they're currently signaling. And that, I think, is going to mean fairly choppy trading for a while in the markets.
So, Jane, are you expecting dollar to actually weaken on the back of Fed reassurance?
You know, I think it could. We've seen quite a lot of movement in the dollar since the start of the year. The market started off short, and we've seen a lot of those positions being covered, given the news and given the optimism that's out there about reflation. I think Powell will push back against yields. He will try and contain that, and if he's successful, then I think the dollar, could soften. I think we can see at 120 again. That said, the Bloomberg market consensus has been suggesting by the end of the year we're going to see 124 in euro dollar. I think that is very far away right now. I think there's going to be optimists really remaining of the view that the Fed could hike interest rates sooner, even if they don't. And I think the prevalence of this optimism about reflation could mean that the dollar remains more resilient than the market thought it would just a couple of months ago.